Good evening. I'm Spot On Weather meteorologist Matthew Euler, and welcome to the next Spot On Weather Meteorology History Series. And tonight we're going to take a look at a real interesting person by the name of Wilson Bentley. He was also known as a Snowflake man, and I'll get more into detail into why here in a moment. But if you take a look at the title slide picture here, it shows Wilson out in the cold, looking and examining at different snowflakes using both a microscope and a camera together. And I'll go ahead and get into this very interesting topic tonight on the Meteorology History Series, Wilson Snowflake Bentley. So let's get right into it. All right, so first I'd like to start with the timeline. And one of the more unique quotes I've seen from many of the pioneers in the meteorology field is the first quote here, that first bullet. And it's funny because if you're a snow lover like me, you know, this quote literally could be something that snow lovers could totally go off of in their life. So Wilson Bentley had once stated, "From the beginning, it was the snowflakes that fascinated me most." And I'm right there with you, Wilson. I definitely love snowflakes. I definitely love snowstorms myself. And I'm just mesmerized when it's snowing outside. I literally, and you might relate with me if you're a snow lover out there, but I literally cannot stop watching snowflakes once it's going outside my window. I've spent many nights growing up when I was in the Midwest just watching snow and watching snowflakes, the various sizes, the various shapes. And I can also remember back in the mid-'80s, after a snowfall, how it appeared, the ground, the snow cover appeared to have a glistening diamond appearance, a very reflective diamond appearance. So I'm definitely right there here with Wilson Bentley on this first quote. It was a very interesting one. But it was truly the snowflakes that really fascinated him. And overall, Wilson Bentley, he was born in the town of Jericho, Vermont. He was born in 1865, and he lived his life to 1931. And ironically, his true love of being outside in snow, he was walking in a blizzard, and he actually caught pneumonia, and that's what actually caused Bentley to pass away. Bentley worked on his family farm in a snow belt area in Vermont that generally received an average of 120 inches of snow a year. So he definitely had a perfect laboratory to study these snowflakes. Bentley was fascinated in general by the world around him. He studied other aspects of nature as well. And he developed an interest in these snow crystals after he received a microscope on his 15th birthday. That's what really got him examining snow crystals and got him really excited about doing that. So some of the specific work that Bentley is known for: in 1885, using a microscope and a camera, Bentley made the first successful photograph of an actual snowflake. One of the very difficult things with snowflakes, of course, is that they melt. They melt rather quickly. So Bentley realized he could not just simply use a microscope, because as soon as the snowflake went on the lens and he tried to examine that snowflake underneath the microscope, it would melt rather quickly. Now, Bentley, he was a pioneer of what's known as photomicrography, which was the photographing of very small objects. And Bentley used, once again, he used both a microscope and a camera in order to take photos of snowflakes. And Bentley just loved to be outdoors when it snowed. He stood in the cold for hours at a time. He'd wait patiently to capture these various sizes of snowflakes as they fell from the sky. Once a snowflake landed, he would carefully handle it with a feather to place it beneath the lens of that microscope. The apparatus was set up outside, of course, in the colder air, so the specimens would not melt as easily. And from his first picture in 1885 all the way to his death in 1931, Bentley captured more than 5,000 snow crystal pictures, just truly amazing. And he learned that no two snowflakes are ever identical or exactly alike. Every snowflake is unique. And during his lifetime, Bentley also worked alongside William J. Humphreys, who was a physicist at the time with the U.S. Weather Bureau. And together, both Bentley and Humphreys published over 2,300 photographs of snowflakes in a volume that was called Snow Crystals. They published over 60 articles in various scientific and popular journals. And in 1904, Bentley donated a collection containing 500 photographs to the Smithsonian Institution. Just amazing. Bentley stated that different shapes of snow crystals were influenced by different air temperatures and different segments within a cyclone or a mid-latitude storm system. And so he did take careful notes and observations of how air temperature changed the shapes of these snow crystals, which, you'll see in the National Weather Service discussions today during the wintertime in areas that get snow. You'll hear the Weather Service or you'll read the Weather Service discussion talking about dendrites versus needles versus columns versus plate type ice crystal or snow crystals. The dendritic growth zones as well within wintertime stratiform clouds. It all depends on that temperature within the vertical in the atmosphere as far as what type of snow crystals you get. So this was some of the very first work done on snow crystals and realizing how air temperature in different segments of a storm actually impacted those shapes. From your own experience, you may have noted that generally around a temperature of 32 degrees Fahrenheit, around the freezing point, we tend to get a lot more in the way of those bigger silver dower snowflakes or those big, huge wet snowflakes as compared to when it's really cold and you get more of that, the smaller snowflakes, much smaller in diameter with colder air, or when drier air starts to work into a system on the backside of mid-latitude cyclones or storms in the wintertime. Here is the actual publication, Snow Crystals, by Wilson A. Bentley and W. J. Humphreys on the left. This was published back in 1931, and you can see there in the middle picture some of the middle image there, some of the snow crystal pictures that Bentley took with that camera and microscope. You can see how the different shapes of snowflakes, how many times in society, when we're growing up, when we're little, we'll see that traditional snowflake shape, right? Whether we're watching, when you were a younger kid, you were watching cartoons and you saw snow coming down, it would usually be one of these types of flakes, So Bentley's work really did transcend society quite a bit. The graphic on the far right here shows snowflake versus temperature, okay, that Bentley and Humphreys came up with, just showing the different types of shapes of snow crystals, whether they're hexagonal plates, whether they're needles, columns, different shapes there on the right. You can actually see there's a temperature scale in the vertical right down the middle of that graphical image there on the far right. So in general, you can get this, by the way, you can get that as a poster from the Bentley Museum there in Jericho, Vermont. I'll show you what that place looks like here at the end of the video. Here's some additional work of different snowflakes that Bentley took pictures of. If you look at the one on the far left, that is actually what's considered a dendrite star. This was a snowflake that's photomicrographed by Wilson A. Bentley. In this, actually that far left picture of a snowflake there, that is actually in the Smithsonian Archives. And its copyright was 1890. You see Wilson there in the middle graphic. He's the first person again to photograph a snowflake back in 1885. There he is examining snowflakes in a snowstorm. You can kind of see the snow on the back of the top of his coat as well as on the top of his hat he's wearing this particular day. And then the far right shows just a few of the thousands of snowflakes that Bentley took photographs of over the years. And by the way, that picture on the right showing the various shapes of snowflakes. That looks like it dates to 1902. And here are the references used in today's particular video. We talked about Wilson A. Bentley. I looked at stories from the Smithsonian. Wilson A. Bentley, a pioneering photographer of snowflakes. And I also looked at the Just History posts there in that link provided in the second bullet. And there's some more images there at the bottom of this slide showing the various snowflakes that Wilson A. Bentley took. And then on the far right there, there's one of Bentley's color photographs from, that looks like it's 1890 in the bottom right there. So your traditional snowflake shapes. And this is actually the Bentley Exhibit or the museum. Basically, their motto is there, come to where it was discovered, that no two snowflakes are alike. And so you have a Snowflake Bentley Exhibit at the Old Red Mill here on the right-hand side in Jericho, Vermont, which is owned and operated by the Jericho Historical Society. And the bottom there shows the link where you can go and look up more information. All right, that wraps things up today on the Meteorology History Series on Wilson Bentley, Mr. Snowflake. Hope you enjoyed this presentation, and we'll continue with more videos as we move into the future here. So thank you again for subscribing to the channel. Hope you enjoyed this little video.